Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, honoring Arbor Day on April 26th, with an ongoing commitment to sustainable stewardship and conservation of Missouri's forests. ChooseWood.com.
This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. And don't run with your mouth open.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I do understand why some people are nervous about it. It is going to be kind of intense. I went up to Cincinnati specifically to see the Brood 10 cicada emergence. It was really exciting for me. Birds and mammals and reptiles and amphibians and even other invertebrates are going to have this huge feast. I would just say to try to find some wonder in it.
Do you hear that sound? That's the song of cicadas. How many of them are singing in that clip, I don't know, but there's about to be billions of them in St. Louis this spring and summer. That's right, I said billions with a capital B. Here to talk with us about this extraordinary emergence of cicada broods 13 and 19 in the Midwest, we have Nicole Pruess, invertebrate keeper at the Sophia M. Sachs Butterfly House. Nicole, welcome to St. Louis on the Air.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So this extraordinary emergence is historic. When was the last time this happened? That is, that brood 13 and 19 emerged at the same time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the last time that these two broods emerged at the same time, I believe, is in 1803. It's been quite a long time. In terms of periodical cicadas in St. Louis, it's been about 13 years since we had our last big emergence.
Mm-hmm. And when is it that this will happen again?
Oh gosh, it's going to be quite a while before these two broods sync up again.
Mm-hmm. And one of them appears every 13 years?
Yes.
And then the other
is every 17 years,
mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it says, according to what I've got here, it's 221 years that we'd have to wait, using that word liberally, mm-hmm. so the year 2245 for them to come out again in the same season. So what is it that we will see here in St. Louis?
So in St. Louis, we will see cicada brood 19 coming out. So they are 13-year periodical cicadas. Brood 13, which are 17-year cicadas, are going to be emerging further north, kind of like mid to northern Illinois. So we won't see both of them here in St. Louis, but we will see billions of brood 19 coming out.
Mm-hmm. You have a box.
I do.
With a few samples. Can you describe what a cicada looks like for someone maybe who has not seen one or maybe doesn't know that they've seen one?
Yeah, absolutely. So periodical cicadas can be between 3/4 of an inch and 1.5 inches long. They are black with kind of large red eyes and orange wings and legs.
And about how long are they?
Between 3/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches.
Mm-hmm. So the difference then between periodical and annual cicadas, mm-hmm. what are those differences?
So part of it is when they emerge from the ground. So we do see annual cicadas every year, and we only see our periodical cicadas in St. Louis on a 13-year cycle. In terms of appearance, periodical cicadas are smaller. They're kind of black and orange in color. Our annual cicadas are larger, and they're more of a greenish to black in color.
Mm-hmm. What does a cicada brood have in common? And how is it different from other kinds of broods?
So the brood is just a mass number of cicadas emerging at the same time. So there can be multiple different species of cicada in a brood, and the broods are all on the same temporal cycle. So, mm-hmm. We've got brood 19, which comes out every 13 years, and brood 13 that comes out every 17 years. There are, I believe, 15 different broods in the eastern United States that are each on their own timetable.
Mm-hmm. So what is it that they're doing in the soil for 13 years before they see the light?
So they are feeding on tree sap from the root systems of primarily mature trees. So they're just kind of down there, they're aerating the soil, they're feeding on tree roots, and they're also a food source for anything that eats insects below the ground.
So the mature trees is sort of it's an indicator as to where these will be emerging.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's a good note to have. And we talked about the number that will be coming out. Give us a better idea as to how many cicadas we'll be seeing in the St. Louis area.
Yes, so it's estimated that there can be between 1 million and 1.5 million cicadas per acre. And there are about 40,000 acres of land in St. Louis City. So if we're taking the high end, that could be as many as 60 billion cicadas for St. Louis City alone.
Mm-hmm. And so they will be around and about.
Yes.
Is there any way... I'm pretty freaked out by insects, I confess, and my son is too. Like, are there certain colors maybe that they're attracted to? Are there like accessories that we can wear discreetly in order to be ready?
I don't know in terms of color or things to deter them. They will look for each other using sound. So the males will sing to attract females, and the females, in response, will make kind of a clicking sound, similar to snapping your fingers to indicate where they are to the male cicadas. So don't be snapping your fingers all over. You might attract the male cicadas to you.
Okay, that's a good note too.
I will say they're not, attracted to people. They're not intentionally going to swarm you, but they may bump into you as they're flying around looking for mates. I would just try to find some excitement in it.
Right, okay. And don't run with your mouth open.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are we seeing any signs of them yet, Nicole?
I personally have not seen any signs yet. So what we're looking for at the Butterfly House, the number one thing is the temperature of the soil. So it needs to be 64 degrees Fahrenheit, 8 inches below the soil surface to trigger their emergence. Once they start emerging, we're going to be seeing like about dime-sized holes in the ground where they're coming out of the soil. We'll be seeing the cast skins that you may be familiar with on, tree trunks, and then, of course, the adult cicadas.
And as they're coming up, is there a certain time of day that they're doing that more often, or is it just sort of time agnostic?
Yeah, I don't think that there will be a specific time of day when they're coming up. It's just going to be when the soil reaches the appropriate temperature. So maybe more likely midday as the soil's warming, but...
And how far down beneath the surface that we would see of the ground are these cicadas waiting?
So these cicadas can be found between 2 inches and 18 inches down below the soil surface, typically.
We're speaking with Nicole Pruess, invertebrate keeper at Sophia M. Sachs Butterfly House, and we're talking about the cicadas that will be emerging in huge numbers here in the St. Louis area. So you have some experience, Nicole, with large cicada emergences. So what is it that we can expect?
Well, I would expect to see a lot of them, and they are going to be quite loud. They're singing to attract mates, and they will be flying around to find each other and to find suitable trees to feed on and lay their eggs in.
Now, you took a trip to Ohio, I believe, in 2021 to see them. What was that experience like?
It was really exciting for me. I went up to Cincinnati specifically to see the Brood 10 cicada emergence because I just couldn't wait until this year. And they were flying around. They were all over the trees. I personally didn't find it overwhelming. There were a lot of cicadas, but I didn't feel completely overwhelmed by them.
When we say overwhelming, was it the visual aspect of it? Was it hearing them? What part of it sort of struck you most?
I would say both. Typically, we don't see the annual cicadas flying around that much, so just seeing them flying around was really exciting for me, and seeing them landing on different things and landing on me. I really liked that. But also the sound was really quite striking.
Now, the cicada life cycle, what is that? And what is it that we will be seeing of that cycle?
So these cicadas complete most of their life cycle underground. So for 13 years, they are a nymph or a juvenile cicada, and they live beneath the soil surface, feeding on tree roots. And what we will be seeing is that final stage of their immature life cycle coming out of the ground and onto the trees. And then they molt, so they shed that exoskeleton one final time, and they come out as an adult. So we'll be mostly seeing adult cicadas.
Right. And so adult cicadas, what is their purpose in life?
So they are just like a huge food resource for a lot of other animals. So if you love nature, you'd be excited because like birds and mammals and reptiles and amphibians and even other invertebrates are going to have this huge feast, like this big boost in nutritional resources, which will help them.
And what is it that we know about why cicadas operate in this way and with this kind of life cycle?
So the mass emergence is kind of, they're going for safety in numbers. It's called predator satiation. So they're trying to completely overwhelm anything that might want to eat them to make sure that a large enough number survive and then get to mate and lay those eggs.
So, I mean, there's no survival of the fittest in this case?
So they don't have a lot of individual strategy or survival of the fittest in terms of, predator avoidance, but there may be males that are better at singing or better at finding females, so there is a little bit of survival of the fittest in that way, where some may be better at reproducing than others.
So you did mention cicadas as a food source.
Yes.
So what does eat cicadas?
Pretty much anything that would normally eat insects. So we're thinking birds and small mammals, reptiles, amphibians, other invertebrates, even fish might eat them. So this is just like a pretty rare, huge, abundant food resource for these animals, and anything that can take advantage of it will.
Right. Well, humans are animals as well.
Yes.
And humans eat cicadas too. How is that done?
So they are completely edible. Typically, you think anything that you can make shrimp with or make with shrimp, you could make with cicadas. So
okay.
Usually we'll try to collect them right after they emerge from the ground and have molted, so their exoskeleton is still kind of soft, similar to a soft-shell crab.
Yeah.
But you can also eat them after their exoskeleton is hardened in the adult stage.
Okay. So is this something that you've just heard, or have you actually done it yourself?
I have just heard about it. I'm very excited to try it. I've eaten other bugs like crickets and things like that and enjoyed it. Last time that these cicadas emerged in Missouri, I didn't really have access to that, so I'm excited to try it.
Okay. So you are wearing interesting earrings.
Yes, I do have periodical cicada earrings on.
So I understand that you do like cicadas enough to accessorize with them. What is it about cicadas that you find so appealing or interesting?
I just think the periodical cicada life cycle is so fascinating. Just living underground for 13 years to come up and live for a month to a month and a half as an adult is just wild to me. It's amazing. I also think they're kind of cute. I like their little red eyes. As a whole, I find them really interesting.
Yeah. And I alluded to this a little bit earlier about my apprehension about insects. So what is it that you would tell people who are dreading this?
I would say that I do understand why some people are nervous about it. It is going to be kind of intense. But I would just say to try to find some wonder in it. This is a really kind of rare occurrence. If you're just staying in Missouri, you're only going to see this every 13 years. So you could only see it a couple times in your life. So try to soak it in and enjoy it and know that they are completely harmless.
Yeah. And is there anything that is happening at the Butterfly House to kind of prepare people to enjoy them rather than fear them?
So we are trying to do a lot of education. So, coming on the radio to talk about them and just sharing our enthusiasm in general with people that come to visit the Butterfly House.
Well, I hope that you enjoy your edible experience with cicadas as well as all the other ones that you'll be having. Nicole Pruess is invertebrate keeper at the Sophia M. Sachs Butterfly House. Nicole, thanks so much for talking with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
This episode was produced by Emily Woodbury.
Audio engineering and podcast design by Aaron Dorr.
Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
St. Louis on the Air proudly supports local artists by using music from Life Creative Group.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, honoring Arbor Day on April 26th, with an ongoing commitment to sustainable stewardship and conservation of Missouri's forests. ChooseWood.com.